Hello and welcome to another episode of Monday with Ginell.
Hello.
And we are this time treated to visuals because I know you've always wanted to see all of us talk. And you can see our expressions now. And I see in the background, what is that? That's an X-Men poster. And what's beside that?
That's Art Adams' 1980, I think it's 1989 medley. And then that's Hellsing wall scroll for the anime Hellsing.
Nice.
And then I don't know if you can see over there or there. There's Robotech, and then there's our shoes because we don't wear shoes in our house. We leave them by the front door.
So tonight we're doing something a little different. Kat and Ginell are going to be discussing
the Victorian era. Yes.
And yeah, you've all been asking for Kat to give a breakdown on her knowledge of the Victorian era. Mm-hmm. I'm sure you'll have plenty of questions, which I will field. That's probably going to be primarily my role for this episode, is fielding your questions. Won't it be great when we have wireless microphones or wireless headphones?
That'll be awesome.
And you won't have
fantastic.
to see this. But so that's going to be primarily it. We've only got 4 people listening right now. We've got In a Disguise, Wolf Media, and the Corset Butch Fest, CA Corset.
Oh, I should have worn my corset.
No, I think that would have been great. I just don't know if the audience would have been able to handle it.
It would have been awesome. It would have been so sexy and would have fit tonight's episode. Corsets, yes.
It would have. It totally would have. Actually, for our wedding, I had a custom corset made. So.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, yeah.
Aside from that, as always, give it a like. You're not late, Fair Maiden White. We just got started. What are you talking about? Passerby wanders in. So right now we've only got 7 people in the chat. So if you could tell all your friends we're live right now, because, well, you know, they never tell anybody when we're live. That would be very, very
pregnant. Helpful. Jesus.
What?
In a disguise, better late than pregnant.
That's a good line. I like that. And very true, by the way. Very, very true. Better late than pregnant. Man, in high school, they used to scare the shit out of me. That was like my nightmare.
Oh, hearing the I'm late.
Yeah, absolutely.
I had a couple of guy friends that were sweating bullets and were happy that everything was just late.
Yeah, I hate those scares. I've only had that happen twice. And the first time I was really freaking out because it was like over a month. And so when, of course, it came out negative, I'm like, okay, then what the fuck's wrong with me?
When I got pregnant with Chris, I didn't even know because I still had a period.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And sorry, that was probably too much information, but so everything was going normal and then it just stopped halfway through and I was like, huh. And on the fly, I was just like, well, let's just see. It's probably not. And it turned out I was. So very unexpected.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got an intro here from Anime Acid Trip.
Sup, bitches? It's your boy Rico back home after doing laundry and rocking his new rocker boy boots. Telling ya, all them bitches gonna want a piece of my chorizo.
Hell yeah! Oh, is there more?
Anyway, let's talk about history. I kind of want to talk about the rocker boots now, though. I want to know what kind of rocker boots. Are they platform? They have spikes on them. Are they glittery? Are they matte?
Are we talking Kiss Razor boots, or are we talking something more along the lines of, say, New Rocks?
Do they have fish in them?
That was such a weird trend when people were putting goldfish in their boots. Like, what the fuck? Those poor goldfish.
Wait, that wasn't just a scene in...
No, that's real. That's real.
No, that was a real trend.
No, that's real.
Yeah, like goldfish were dying because chicks would wear these boots out with their goldfish in them and then go dancing all night. So like the goldfish are bouncing around being smashed in the boot heel.
Yeah.
Or they were transparent, I take it.
Yes, so you could see this goldfish just being smashed around in this boot.
I mean, at least they didn't move up to say hamsters or something.
Oh, jeez.
Um,
Wait, didn't they do that in the one? Jet Li's evil girlfriend had the hamster with the bomb strapped to it hidden in her boot.
really?
It's like a hamster or a rat or something.
In the one, huh?
Yes.
Oh my god.
So, I've been thinking, oh, wait, we have another one here.
Horrible. These people have faces. I can't behind this. I can't.
And it's
get
supposed to be
behind
believe.
this. Oh,
They typed, I think they typed believe,
Oh,
but it got
believe, yes.
auto-corrected to behind.
I think you are correct. I like my parasocial activity properly mediated with avatars. Cover the shameful nakedness of your faces.
Okay.
Sorry, our state's open. We don't wear masks anymore.
And I'm rebelling.
But yes, be a rebel. Ooh, what you doing?
Well, I had a request from the audience.
Oh. We have a request. Well, technically, she always wears a mask and body covering. I mean, it's his people burqa. So, anyway.
Does he ever worry that one day he's going to turn on the camera and realize he doesn't have his human suit on?
Well, see, that's why it's in the garage.
Gotcha.
Although the refrigerator is right there, so
Oh. Keep it all nice and cold.
She went. Let's see what people are saying while we're waiting for him to get back. So, in disguise. It didn't take long to get off topic.
It never does.
Yep, we don't need no stinking topics. Wait, Ishi's pregnant? No. His species all look alike, but he is definitely male. Wolf 10 says it was a rat. Aww.
Okay, yeah, it was a rat. I couldn't remember if it was a rat or a hamster.
Let's see. The acid trip says leather Chelsea boots I got a few days ago. Gives me a nice profile. Spikes though? Maybe though I do it for my vest or denim jacket. There you go.
There, you happy now? Is it better?
You have your mask.
So we get any comments?
We don't need no stinking topics.
Yeah, okay. There we go.
And then this guys thought you were getting your corset.
I can't see anything. All right, so here we go.
So there's our Amazon wish list. And again, thank you so much to I Spy and to Claire.
Yeah. Well, Star Storyteller.
Star Storyteller. Thank you both so much for the stands, for the cameras, and for the lighting. It really means so much that you guys like us enough to support the channel that way. So thank you very much.
In a disguise says it's actually a bit better if I wear the skull mask.
Maybe your human suit needs an upgrade.
So I actually made this thing. This is obviously a what is it? A War Machine mask that I kind of decorated.
It looks better than regular War Machine. I'd take that.
So, okay, we got 16 people. Do you want to tear into it?
Yeah,
So
go for it.
Almost a Lucha Libre Ishii.
You don't have a
No.
luchador mask yet. I need to fix that.
I could go get the Iron Man one. I did.
Oh, that's true.
Let's see. Tear into it.
Okay.
So my hair is all screwed up today.
Where shall we begin? Because nearly an entire decade is a lot to cover. Century, sorry.
Well, we could ask the chat, do they want to know about more of the Industrial Revolution, more of the social aspect? All I know is cooking. There's also, I'm always fascinated with the royal family at this time frame and the rumors that Prince Albert was actually Jack the Ripper. I always thought that was kind of cool.
I think we should start with poison.
Yes,
You've been
poison.
talking my ear off all day about poison. You're gonna have to share it.
Okay. Well, so where shall we begin with poisons, both meant to be and on accident?
Killer wallpaper.
You want to talk about killer wallpaper?
Start with the wallpaper of death.
Do you know about the wallpaper of death?
I remember you told me the story about the wallpaper of death. Queen Victoria decorated one of her rooms with the green arsenic paper, and then didn't it kill an ambassador?
Yeah, it did. Well, it didn't kill him. It just put him in hospital for 2 weeks. But in Victorian era, for those of you who don't know, that was the Industrial Revolution, the 1800s, 1830 to 1901, I believe, was Victoria's reign. So nearly an entire century. And so much innovation came out at that time in all different forms. And one of the main things was textiles. So suddenly, all of these brightly colored textiles were affordable to the new middle class. The middle class really hadn't existed previous to this time period. And the big trend-setting color was green. And you weren't anybody if you didn't have green. Green dresses, green wallpaper, green fabric on your couches and chairs and sofas, green leather book bindings, green paint on not only things that decorated your house, but the toys for your children. And there's a specific shade of green too that everybody went gaga over. Well, how they got it was using arsenic, and they didn't seal anything. And so with textiles, the arsenic would actually, like, if you'd sweat and then it would seep out of the fabric into your skin. It was in the upholstery, so you touch the upholstery and you'd get bits of arsenic through your hands that way. Your kids would play with the toys, and fairly young children, of course, would eat the toys. And the big one was the wallpaper, and which apparently had tons of the stuff. And just the heat of the day or the heat from your fireplace would excite the molecules enough so that you get basically arsenic in the air that you were breathing. And people were all over the place were coming down with arsenic poisoning. And nobody did anything about it until, as Ginell mentioned, an ambassador from France, I think, came to stay at the palace, and he was put in, the Queen's brand new green room, and within a couple of hours, he was sick, and he was down for almost 2 weeks. And so Victoria, I am trying very hard not to do the "we are not amused" joke, said, okay, none of this, and stripped the wallpaper. And like practically overnight, like within a year, nothing was green anymore. Green was out because the Queen said no. I believe to this day, it is not on the books that arsenic cannot be used for wallpaper. They just won't because the Queen said no. But there's no law.
I have a question.
Mhm.
Now, wasn't it that seamstresses would literally keel over dead, and they hadn't even ingested arsenic, but their tongues would be green, along with their fingertips or their fingernails and toanails? That's crazy.
It was because the fabric, of course, is going through they did actually have sewing machines. It was the beginning of sewing machines. So it was either going through, or if they were doing it by hand, their fingers were touching it all day, and of course sweating on it, and so they'd get it that way. So yeah, seamstresses. I'm trying to think of some other places, not hatters, but other places where you do a lot of painting. And you lick the brush, you'd get it that way.
Oh, so maybe pottery?
Oh, pottery,
Okay.
yes.
What
All
about
right.
cobblers? Weren't the satin shoes, weren't those also with the arsenic in them, the green satin shoes? Would the cobblers be affected by it?
I know they got sick, but I don't recall that being an industry where it was hit very hard. I'm not saying that it wasn't, but it's more the ones where people were just, like practically drenched in the stuff, like seamstresses or things like that. Yeah, they definitely got it. So,
I got another topic.
okay.
Dumb hats. Explain those dumb hats.
Oh,
With
the
the
They
birds in
still
them
wear
and the-
those dumb hats.
Huh?
They still wear the dumb hats. They look like they're a plate on their head.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that.
Well,
Explain that.
well, okay, there are those dumb hats, and yeah, that of course had a lot of fabric, and was it a milliner? Is that the term for a hat person? I know we call them hatters, but is it a milliner?
I
Well,
have
think
no
that's what they're
idea.
called.
I've always called them hatters.
Yeah, hatters. We'll call them hatter. But no, there actually was a fad for about 10 to 15 years, I think maybe even 20, towards the end of the era, so 1880s or so, where women started putting dead things on their heads, on their hats, specifically birds. And of course, it started with little small things like little robins making nests in their hats and other things like that. And it ballooned completely insane to the point where there are women who had entire whole flamingos or peacocks with tail.
Oh God.
Pheasants, of course, tons of dead pheasants. There are entire areas where the birds were either hunted, if not to extinction, damn close to it, not for food, but so that women can wear them as hats.
What is it with women in history and having to have birds on their heads? I think it was during Louis the 14th or Louis the 16th that the women would have the huge wigs with the live birds in cages, and they'd be like shitting in their hair.
Considering everything else that was going on with the wigs at that time, the birds is like the least of their worries.
Yeah, that's true. Those things were fire hazards.
Oh my God, they're filthy.
So did they ever have
So
problems
gross.
with birds landing in the hats and setting up nests?
Considering this is London in the 1800s, if you even saw a live bird in the city, I would be shocked. We're talking the London fog where, it looks like midnight at noon. So just no. Victoria, why do people think Prince Albert was Jack the Ripper? That one I hadn't heard, but I had heard that Jack the Ripper was a noble or was a member of the royal family, but not the inner family, but one of like the cousins. And it's because the guy was indeed creepy and did have a collection of weird things, especially I think he collected women's shoes or something like that.
Well, that doesn't make him a killer. That just makes him fabulous.
He also had a habit of going and getting prostitutes and then beating them up. So
Okay, well, that's a bit creepier.
And this is the royal family, so you have to keep it all hush hush.
Hey, I used to have a collection of ex-girlfriend's bras.
And did you share it with me for comparison, or did it go up in flames?
They went up in flames.
Oh, okay. We weren't quite at the comparing exes with your bra stage of our relationship.
Yeah.
Anyway, what did the thing that you saw about Prince Albert say?
I can't remember where I read it, but it was like one of the rumors that was going around when everybody was freaking out. I mean, I also know they thought it was one of the royal doctors because the surgical precision of like the first couple of prostitutes' bodies were kind of mangled, but they said it seemed like he was scared. So, but as he went on with more victims, the precision with the way he dissected them made it look like it was somebody with a medical history. and the fact that he was able to get away with it, people thought it might have been one of the royal doctors.
Well,
I had always heard it was Alan Moore.
he went back in time.
Yeah.
Although here's one thing. Now, I could be wrong, because it's been a couple of years. But the program that I saw, they still have all of that evidence.
Really?
They have it all locked up. And somebody went, hey, we can do DNA testing now. So they did.
And it was Alan Moore.
And they didn't come out with the results.
They didn't want to say who it was.
I was going to say, I bet you anything, if they didn't come out with results, it was somebody that was a noble, someone from the aristocracy.
Prince Albert.
Yeah, it was probably was Prince Albert.
Yeah, they've already got enough dirt.
Yeah, I kind of wonder if it was. Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, the royal family's got enough dirt right now. The last thing they need is that on there.
Mm-hmm. Well, hell, Doctor Who says that Victoria was a werewolf.
Oh, that's right. She was hiding it with her hemophilia, right?
Yes.
She was, yeah. That was actually, I thought that was kind of cool. Queen Victoria was actually a werewolf.
I did too. I mean, you say that, it's like, that's stupid. And then you see what they did with it. It's like, okay, I'll give it to him. That was good.
Now, I don't know when they first talked about her being a werewolf, if that was the 4th or the 5th Doctor, because I heard it from the 9th and the 10th Doctor. So
that was the episode I saw. I don't recall if they did with any of the earlier ones. It wasn't the 5th Doctor. And there are episodes of the 4th Doctor that's been ages since I've seen. So I'll have to go back and take a look. But, oh yeah, the royals are fun.
Okay, I know this has nothing to do with Victorian England, but
Okay.
I want you to talk about the electric tablecloth.
Oh, Edwardian?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's just so insane.
Do you know about the electric tablecloth?
no, but I'm very interested now.
Okay. During the Edwardian period, which is right after Victorian, for those of you who may not know, again, Queen Victoria's reign ended in 1901, I believe it was. In fact, I think it was like January of 1901. And so her son, Edward, came to the throne, and he was only king until 30s, I'm guessing. No,
Is that the one that married Wallace Simpson and caused all the problems? Was like the Nazi supporter?
No, that was another one.
Oh, okay.
This is Elizabeth II's father.
Oh, okay. Wait, I thought that was George the 5th or the 6th.
George was Victoria's father.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, I know. My mom can recite verbatim the entire royal family tree, starting from the 1100s to modern day, and all the branches off, including all the cousins and second cousins and third cousins, and how they're all related to each other. So
that's impressive, because that's a lot of people.
It's an awful lot of people. I do not know how she does it, but she does. Fair Maiden. They did find the DNA of the crazy Polish guy on the apron of Catherine Eddowes. So they say, but that just means he came into physical contact with her, as she was a prostitute. That means zip. That's true.
Okay, you still have to say what the electric tablecloth was.
Okay. This is not England. This is America. The Edwardian period is like the time or the heyday of electricity.
Wait, this was an American invention?
This is an American invention.
Oh, okay.
Yes, this was an American thing. Now, the English had them, but this was an American thing. This was revealed at basically the World's Fair in...
Yeah, but our electricity was grounded and theirs wasn't.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Anyway, the idea behind the electric tablecloth is that it's such a pain and such a drag to have to take your candlesticks and light them and walk them across the room and put them on the dinner table when you're going to eat dinner. And at least in England, I no, we didn't have this problem here. They would do the bit of there'd be one light bulb or one electric cord hanging from the ceiling, and then they would literally Christmas tree out all the cords to everything else in the house from that one thing. And it's like, we got to have separate cords to have multiple lights in the house, cue the Ron Popeil, phrase, there's got to be a better way. And the electric tablecloth was a tablecloth that had cords, crossing through it. And you put it on your table and you take your table scones, which had spikes on the bottom, and you'd ram it into the tablecloth.
Jesus.
And there you have light.
Oh my God. How many cartoon people being electrified where you could actually see their skeleton?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's amazing. Actually, I'm shocked there weren't more fires because this thing did go on the market for a short period of time. No pun intended on the word short, but yeah, England liked it better than we did, but even them, they cut it off after a short time. So, Mad Ginger, the electric tablecloth, that'd keep your elbows and nipples off the table.
Yeah, it would, definitely.
Unless you're into that sort of thing.
Okay, so more Victorian England questions.
Okay.
Everyone, come on, let's ask.
Okay. You have made more dishes than I have from the Victorian era. What's your favorite one to make so far?
Honestly, trifle. Trifle was it was amazing. We actually, Steve got me all the ingredients. He actually got me the orange blossom water that you put in the sponge cake. And I couldn't put alcohol in it because my mom and my son were eating it. I didn't feel like getting my kid drunk on Easter Sunday.
No.
But the way that they did it was they did a fatless sponge cake, which I'd never made before. And you put butter and sugar on the pan to be able to flip it out, which I was like, that sounds weird. Wouldn't sugar melt? But somehow it doesn't melt. And you put the orange blossom water in it, so it has an orange blossom flavor. And then you put a layer of candied ginger, and then you make a custard out of ground almonds. And I'd never heard of that before. Most custards are like, an egg and cream with sugar. But this one, you actually took the heavy cream and the almonds, the ground up almonds, and you put a slit vanilla bean in there so it would sit and all the vanilla oil would come out. So it's not vanilla extract, it's actual vanilla. And then you would, if I was putting alcohol in it, I would put the booze in, which is sherry and brandy, and the cake would soak it up. And then I put on the layered custard of the almond custard, and then I made a homemade whipped cream. Now, we don't have what's called Angelica in the U.S. I guess this is a British thing. Angelica is candied celery, which it didn't fly here, apparently. Yes, it's candied celery. I have a recipe in my book here. I think I showed everybody. This is the book I use to make candied celery. They also had one for making candied lettuce, but the people that tried it out said it was revolting, so they didn't use it in any of the recipes. But the history behind trifle is when they would have a leftover cake, they didn't throw things out. They didn't have refrigerators, so they would just recycle the cakes, and they would recycle the custards. And so a lot of meals that I've read about in this book, a lot of them are recycled. Like terrines and galantines are where you take a turkey and you take whatever like leftover meats and stuffings you have, and you sew you take out all the inside of the turkey, including the bones, and then you sew it up, and then you steam it. There's a lot of steaming, I've realized, because they didn't have electric ovens, and sometimes heating up an oven would take hours, sometimes even a whole day to get the right temperature. So a lot of meals were actually steamed instead. So they had sweet and savory puddings too. And I did learn that a pudding can be a custard, a steamed cake, and a sausage. So those are all puddings. So it's really weird, and it's only certain
Okay,
sausages.
like black pudding is a blood
Yes,
sausage.
it's a blood sausage, but it's also considered a pudding. There's rabbit pudding, which is a savory where you take fresh dill and thyme and you put it into a pastry, and then you put the rabbit in with salt, and then you put it in your pudding container and you just set it in the water and you let it steam for 4 hours. And you have to have another pot of boiling water to keep adding as it's evaporating. So, when I did my Yule pudding, it took me 4 hours to make it because I did it the traditional way. I didn't do it the fast and easy way. I actually sat there over a stove for 4 hours, adding water and keeping an eye on it.
That's good to know because I haven't made one yet, but I plan on it. Wait, did you make yours the cannonball shape, or did you put it in a mold?
I actually was fancy and I did it in a mold. I ordered a mold because I wanted it to look all pretty for Christmas.
Nice.
But I do have the cheesecloth and the muslin cloth to make the cannonball, and also the dead man's leg version, which is just, instead of having a cannonball, it's rolled out oblong and then you wrap it up like a boiled sweet.
Like a spotted dick.
Yes. I actually do have a recipe. I want to do that too. I want to make that for my friends and say, enjoy my spotted dick, and see their face.
Well, then you can go to World Market and get spotted dick in a can.
Yeah. I actually, I'll try to find it and post it on Instagram so you guys can see it. I took an obnoxious picture with a can of spotted dick because I was like, I have to embarrass my husband. So my friend took a picture of me holding the can, and I had a huge soy boy smile on my face. I looked like this. And I will post that again on Instagram. I just have to find it so you guys can see me with a can of spotted dick with a soy boy smile, just so I can embarrass Steve.
Okay, I want to answer this one.
Okay.
So read the...
was Edward VIII a Nazi sympathizer?
And then horrible answers.
Yes, a lot of British high society were at the time. Mostly the Mitfords, etc.
Okay, well, I'm going to actually put that in perspective, because the Nazi sympathizer claim seems to be used very selectively these days. And there seems to be a lot of revisionist history, and it only comes up when they want to smear something or have a political end, such as, well, Henry Ford, for instance. The fact of the matter is, until we were at war, before they started bombing England specifically, Hitler was extremely popular globally. Most of the cultured elite thought he was a great man. Most of the intelligentsia thought he was a great man. A lot of the lefties thought he was a great man. In fact, FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, was a massive fan of Hitler. We never hear that. And in fact, lots of his policies today that the Democrats still applaud, he had gotten directly from Hitler. Yes,
well, wasn't Joseph Kennedy also a huge fan? He was the ambassador of America to Nazi Germany. Yeah.
Yeah, by and large, lots of Democrats that are held up today were big fans of Hitler. Lots and lots of celebrities in Hollywood, huge fans of Hitler. And again, it wasn't until the bombs started falling on England that people started to change their mind. And even then, they didn't quite change their mind because a lot of people felt that Germany was justified in their actions after World War I. So it really is an unfair claim, and it's used to browbeat and go after specific individuals that, I guess, for whatever reason, are no longer popular. And the one I think is the biggest one that no one ever brings up is just how much, again, Joseph Kennedy and FDR, I'm trying to remember a few others that were just huge fans of his.
Coco Chanel was a huge fan. I mean, her company's still running today. Yeah, she was a massive fan. Right.
And we don't ever hear about that because, the last thing they want is anyone to realize just how much a democratic policy had been borrowed from Hitler. So there's my answer.
I wasn't trying to blame Edward or anything or sling mud. I was just, there was always the talk that he was a Nazi sympathizer. And Churchill eventually wanted to put him in his place because he wanted to. There was that whole thing. I don't know if it was rumor or if they actually proved it, but Edward was supposed to go back and overthrow George, and they were going to let Hitler come on in to England. And
Well, there were people in the UK who did want that. So, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if George was. I mean, maybe George was a dipshit. I don't know.
I know George had the speech impediment that made him sound stupid, but he wasn't really stupid. He just didn't want to talk. I don't blame the man. I mean, all of a sudden he was thrust into being king. He never wanted it.
Okay.
FDR sucked compared to Teddy. Yes.
Oh, yes, he did. Teddy had balls. Teddy was a man. FDR,
My God, the balls on that man.
Dude, that guy got shot by a bullet and his speech stopped it because it was so huge.
Yeah.
That, I mean, when he went to war during the Spanish-American War, he knew they'd had poor eyesight. So he had 21 pockets built into his uniform to have spare glasses. So if one got shot off or if one got smashed, you could just whip another one on and keep going.
No. And then on top of that, he actually lived cannibal Holocaust.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
I mean, come on.
I think one of the reasons he really wanted to push into Central America was to make sure that they could have the advantage of, what's the word? They wanted the bat guano so they could make explosives and gunpowder. No,
it's fertilizer.
Yes, sorry, fertilizer.
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy's cool. I mean, he had some faults, don't get me wrong. Everybody's got some faults, but the man gave us our national parks, and I love national parks. The fact that he was smart enough to be like, we need to preserve all this. And I know people will argue about national parks, and I won't get into the politics of that. But the man had the foresight to preserve nature before anybody else did. And I love our national park system. If I could, I would spend 6 months out of the year at a national park anywhere in the United States.
I agree.
Yeah.
Actually, there's a card you can get with little check boxes. So you can check off each national park. So you can say, I've been to this one, I've been to this one. And I think if you send it in, you will actually get a prize
really?
for having been to all of them. So
I've been to quite a few. Obviously, Yosemite. I've been to Yellowstone. I've been to, of course, now never mind. I've gone to those two. I know I've been to more. Oh, Hoa. That's the actual North American rainforest, a real rainforest in Washington.
Oh, in Washington. Oh, cool.
Yes, it's an actual rainforest. It just, when people think of rainforest, they think of jungle. But this is an actual evergreen rainforest. It's wild. I highly recommend people go see it. It's Hoa, Hoa. It's in Washington.
Nice. I didn't even know that one's there. I thought you were going to say the one that's in Alaska.
And it looks like indoor.
Oh, no, I didn't know about that. And one in Alaska.
There's one in Alaska. There's nothing weirder than being on the deck of a boat, freezing your ass off, looking at 2 glaciers, and a hummingbird goes past your face, heading to the rainforest that's on the other side of the mountain.
It's the Savage Land. The Savage Land exists.
Yes,
in Alaska.
Actually, yes.
That's awesome.
And that we were even talking to one of the people on the boat, saying, well, so what's the temperature over there? It's like, well, it's summer, so it's like 75, 80, and then it'll get down to 65 in the winter. I'm like, this is Alaska, and I'm looking at a glacier, and you're telling me that's going to be, it's like 65 in winter.
That sounds cool. I got to go see that now.
It's pretty awesome. It's right next door to Tracy Arm, which is where 2 glaciers meet in one spot. So it's pretty neat.
That, I think we're probably going to do Alaska when the kiddo is older and will appreciate it. He might not. I mean, when teenagers go on trips with their parents, like, oh, do I really have to be with these 2 old people?
Mm-hmm. But no, he'll like it. He'll like it. I loved, we went fishing. We caught salmon.
I have not been fishing since I was 12 or 13. When I'd go visit my grandfather, he would take me fishing all the time. I love it. Nobody else I know will go fishing with me, so I haven't been in like 30 years.
Oh, okay. We need to go. I love
Okay.
fishing. I totally love fishing.
You're going to have to reteach me everything. I've forgotten it all.
No, I've only been twice in my life, so.
Oh, okay. Then we can figure it out together.
Yes.
I hate to say it, I'm wearing down. Why don't
You're
you
wearing
do?
down? Okay.
I'm still bouncing back.
We had a rough night.
That's an understatement.
Yeah.
Here.
Hi. Hi.
Is she calling it a night?
Yeah. Well, yeah. He had a really rough night. So.
Okay.
So he's gonna. I think he's gonna go to bed. So. Oh well.
Okay. Well, what else do you want to talk about Victorian era? Because, like I said, all I know is cooking. I mean, I know that there was the reason white bread became so popular is I forgot what I think they put plaster of Paris in bread to make it heavier and look white. And then they could save money on wheat, but they were slowly poisoning the people in Victorian era England. So they would.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just say they added really interesting additives that would kill people to the food too. It wasn't just the textiles; it was food too. It was just absolutely poisoned.
Well, the interesting thing, especially about bread, and you're absolutely right. What they call embellishing was a big deal, and everybody embellished, and everybody knew that everybody was embellishing. But here's the thing with bread. I think in the 1500s, there actually were laws passed. In fact, bakers were the first guild in England, specifically because of embellishing to the point it was getting to the point of ridiculous, and of course, it was giving bakers a bad name. And people were starting to think, well, maybe I should make bread at home rather than go and buy it because, I'm not actually buying bread, I'm buying rocks. And so that was one of the reasons why the Bakers Guild was founded. And there are very strict rules on how much embellishing you can do, even to this day in England. The problem is that before, almost everybody was kind of either doing things on their own or getting it in such small quantities that it really didn't matter if the baker was embellishing the flour that he bought. But in the Victorian era, you were actually getting subdivisions of labor. So, the miller would embellish so that he would get paid for milling less flour, and this person would embellish for this person and this person. So by the time all the ingredients got to the bakers, everybody had embellished it by like 2 or 3 times, and then the baker would embellish. So it was yes, this stuff would kill you, but before, when it was in small quantities, it was only like a sixth of the bread, possibly up to a third, was embellished. Once the baker got to it, like half the bread was embellished. And like you said, it was total poison. So that's how they figured out, oh, this is happening. This isn't a good thing. And then on top of that, I wanted to actually share something with you. This is from Mrs. Beaton's book of household management. This book was published in 1860. Mrs. Beaton wrote the Bible on how every good housewife and how every good matron should run her home, because there were so many women of the middle class who had suddenly found themselves in a position where they had servants they had to manage, or, oh my God, they might actually have to cook dinner for guests, and not just the neighbor or whoever. No, I mean like distinguished guests. And what do you do for all of that? And how do you shop? Oh my God, how do you save money? How do you make sure that the help isn't stealing from you? Things like that. That is all in this book. It's absolutely fascinating.
I have to say, they talk about that book in this one. And then I
Yes.
have another book by the same author called Victory in the Kitchen
Oh,
about Winston
wow.
Churchill's chef. Same book. They talk about how, oh gosh, Georgina, I can't remember her last name, but she was the chef,
Mhm.
used stuff from that book because at one point she became the head chef. So she had to be in charge of kitchen stuff. So I've always wanted that book. I need to get it.
This
I didn't
is
realize it was that big, though. That's so cool.
well, what it was this is basically the Dear Abby of its day. She wrote for a newspaper where people would
Really?
send in questions. Hey, how do I do this? And she'd write these articles, and then she compiled them all into this book. Her husband actually was the publisher. So,
Oh, okay.
so that's how this got created. And I'm trying to find the thing on. Oh, I know where it was. Maybe there's a specific section for babies, and the babies thing I find both absolutely hysterical and really, really, really sad, because they have linked the advice she gives in this book to thousands of infant deaths.
Oh, Jesus. Ugh.
Oh, I can't find it here. Basically, she talks about how. Oh, no, wait. Did I find it? Okay, she's saying how bread, as we know, is the most nutritious thing that anybody can eat, and you want to wean your children off of milk as soon as possible. That
Oh.
way, if you want to say go out on a night on the town, it's not going to be a shock to your infant that you're not there to feed them. And they
Yeah,
didn't have a
that.
refrigerator, so you couldn't have the bottle sitting in the fridge for the babysitter. So, so this is actually the recipe for baby formula. And it's a baked flour, when cooked into a pale brown mass and finely powdered, makes a far superior food to others and may be considered as a very useful diet, especially for a change. So baby formula is flour and water.
So she was basically having you feed the kids hardtack.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Yeah, no, that ain't good advice.
Oh, no. The worst thing, I won't read the section to you unless you want me to, but right before it, she's talking about how you can bottle feed, because baby bottles were invented during the Victorian era, or baby bottles as we know them. And it's an actual glass bottle with a nipple on it. And she says, don't get the rubber nipples. Babies don't like them. Okay, that's fine. She says, get sheep's nipples that have basically been turned into leather. You can buy them at the drugstore because they've been soaking in alcohol the entire time. So when you get them, you just wash them off and put it, stretch it over the mouth of your bottle and tie it off with some twine, and it's good there for 2 weeks.
I can't believe they actually had people sticking preserved sorry guys, sheep nipples onto bottles. I do remember glass bottles. My mom used to have one of my great grandmother's old glass bottles, but the rubber nipple had disintegrated. My mom collects antiques from our family, but too bad it broke, because I would love to show it to people. Aww. It was really cool though, but yeah, the rubber nipple had disintegrated. By that point, it was like 70 years old. It just kind of crumbled to dust. But sheep nipples, holy shit.
Yep.
Sheep was sheep were the universal tool for everything. I mean, I know that they use sheep intestines for not only sausages, but condoms.
Yep.
There's the wool. You could pretty much eat anything off the sheep. You could make gelatin from its marrow. I mean, it's the wonder animal.
It is the wonder animal.
Yeah, it really
was.
But I can only imagine. I'm visualizing in my head, mom rinsing it off and putting it on the yeah. I'm sorry, I find that amusing as a mother.
I'm like, okay, fine. Rinse off the sheep's nipple and pop it on. Okay, that's fine. It's you leave it on there for 2 weeks and you just run warm water through it, and that's how you clean it. And
Yeah, that's gross.
They have found that kids have went blind or had all sorts of other problems because of the what's the word? God, my brain is not thinking. Mold and mildew that would grow in these
Oh,
things.
yeah. I bet you they probably, I don't know if it would be black mold. Maybe it would be black mold. I mean, black mold likes moisture, and that's a nasty one.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, Victorian hygiene, it was better than further back in history, but it still wasn't that great yet.
No,
Yeah.
it wasn't. There's it is interesting to think that they did invent the tankless water heater. But the reason why it didn't become a thing until modern day is because they would put them in the bathrooms, which is fine. But in winter, especially, these things were gas. They had a pilot light. And so people were dying of carbon monoxide poisoning
Ugh.
while they were taking a bath. They'd pass out and either they'd die of carbon monoxide or they'd pass out in the bath and drown. And
I see. I didn't know about that. I don't know much about the tankless water heaters,
Mhm.
but the fact that people were dying of carbon monoxide poisoning while taking a bath is really frightening.
mm-hmm.
I know that when they were in the Victorian era kitchen, they could have upgraded a lot of the aristocracy could have upgraded their kitchens, but they were so set in their ways. They could have had the electric stuff, but they were still doing stuff from the 1700s and the 1600s, like I said, steaming and using brick ovens and trying to get them up to a certain temperature, even though like restaurants had started modernizing at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So restaurants, I guess, were also a big thing that started really catching on in popularity during Victorian England. Eating out, going out with your friends, going out for a drink and some hors d'oeuvres. Restaurant that actually came from France though, and came over to England because the aristocracy liked to hire French chefs and have them come over into their houses and cook for them. And that's why cuisine became so awesome in England during the Victorian era, because cuisine in England is usually shit. Like, when Steve and I went there for our honeymoon, like we were just like, oh, this is really bland. Like, I want to eat it, but I mean, we actually had toast that was dipped in oil and then toasted, and then they put butter on it. And I was just like, oh, like that's too much.
Okay, I didn't know about that. I mean, this book has a recipe for toast soup, which is exactly what you think it is.
Oh, is that the one where you crumble up the toast in the hot water and then mix it? Okay, yeah, that's in this book too.
Oh, okay.
It's something, because they actually have the recipes also for what you would give to sick people.
Mm-hmm.
So if somebody had the flu, but you wanted them to keep something down, they would give them toast water or toast soup. So
no, exactly. So I want to try traditional English fare, especially Bubble and Squeak, because I remember that from The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
My mom made a killer Bubble and Squeak when I was a kid.
Oh, I'm jealous.
I will. You know what, Kat? I have to go over to her house anyway this weekend. I will dig through her recipes. I'll take a picture and I'll email it to you guys, and you can use the recipe, okay? So you can actually make your own Bubble and Squeak.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Awesome. No, I am so excited about that because I've been wanting that forever. And I've told Ishi had some friends that lived in Cumbria. Mm-hmm. And I told them once, and it's like, yeah, I want to try Bubble and Squeak. And they're like, why? Like,
it's good. It's good. Some people, I guess, just they have an idea. I don't know if people know it, but does anybody in chat know what Bubble and Squeak is, or are we talking over your head here?
Oh yeah, sorry about that.
I've heard of Bubble and Squeak in two ways. My mom has made it in two ways. She's made it the German style with the sauerkraut, which is just be sauerkraut and sausage, or it would be like bangers and mash.
Mhm.
So that's the two ways I know Bubble and Squeak. So, but yeah, like the sauerkraut. Do you want to try the one with the sauerkraut or the one with the potatoes?
Both ways. I actually didn't know you make it with potatoes because my family is German on my mom's side. So I thought that it was all cabbage.
See, I think maybe that it's German. I know Bubble and Squeak is German, but I think that also people are like, oh yeah, this is Bubble and Squeak, but we don't have cabbage here. Have potatoes instead, and let's just put sausage on top of it, which I
No,
think is
makes
why it was
sense.
called bangers and mash. But yeah, my mom she really likes sauerkraut. Even though our family isn't German, she loves German food, like huge German food fan. So it was maybe every other week we had kielbasa and sauerkraut, Bubble and Squeak for dinner. And my friends thought I was weird because they thought it tasted gross. And I'm just sitting there shoveling my face like, what the hell are you talking about? This is delicious.
Okay, in exchange for the Bubble and Squeak recipe, I will give you my German Stollen recipe from my family. They brought it over from Germany. So all of the amounts are in grams. We've had to translate it out, but we make this every year for New Year's. It's the only time you make it, which is good because you will gain 10 pounds. But oh my God, it's so good.
I actually have a recipe also for traditional German potato salad, which has
Ooh,
bacon in it, if you
nice.
like that. And surprisingly, you'll never guess where I found that recipe. It was in my Destiny video game cookbook.
Really?
Yes, and I'd been looking for the German potato salad recipe forever. I know we're off topic, guys. Sorry. I know I always knock us off topic. I'm sorry. But I've been looking for this recipe forever because I go to Oktoberfest every year. I love Oktoberfest. I don't go for the beer, I go for the food. And I finally, this cookbook, a video game cookbook, had it with the bacon and everything, and had the braised red cabbage, and also had
Oh, wow.
schnitzel and how to make pretzels. I can also scan the images and send that to you so you can have that as well. But yeah, that's good stuff.
That reminds me, you mentioned Oktoberfest. To kind of sort of loop things back around. In this book, there's like 2 pages. I'm not kidding. 2 pages on the alcohol a woman can drink while she's breastfeeding. And the amounts that is okay for you to have while you're breastfeeding. And it even has a section on how, like, malt liquor is not just for poor people anymore. It's actually good for you if you're breastfeeding.
Oh my God.
And
How much fetal alcohol syndrome happened?
a lot. But what's also really funny is she gauges the alcohol level actually not on what it does to the baby as far as ill effects of sobriety and other things like that, but whether or not it makes either the mother or the child flatulent.
Oh God. So it basically, how much can you drink before you get beer shits is what they're
Yes.
saying. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And you don't want to give that to your baby.
Oh, I cannot wait to read this book. Like I said, it was in the other 2 books I read, and then you've got it. So now I have to get it because this book sounds like a trip.
It is. Actually, I was telling my mom about the Victorian way and talking about it, and I mentioned something, and she goes, "Oh, that's in Mrs. Beecham's." I'm like, "Wait, you have that?" And she kind of gave me this look like, "Well, duh."
Actually, I think I said that a couple of the recipes out of this book come from that book,
Mm-hmm.
and they just were modified. So
I think they probably had it better because I've read some of the recipes in this book, and
did they have candied lettuce?
I haven't looked. I just know that there's an entire section on, the right amount of smelliness you can have for your fish. And I'm used to, San Diego, the port's right there. It's like, if it smells at all, don't get it.
Yeah. Unless you want a specific fermented fish. And even then, most of the time, you don't want fermented fish.
Oh, no. Fair Maiden White says we're killing it, and
Yes,
she
thank
tells us we're doing a great
you.
job. So thank you. So let's see, what else can we talk about? Wait, I got Ginger says I go to Oktoberfest to see girls that look like Ginell and Kat.
Seriously, if you guys ever come back to San Diego, now that everything's reopening, finally, come to Oktoberfest in El Cajon. That is the best Oktoberfest in the entire county because it's put on by the German American Center. And they actually fly their family members in from Germany. These little old ladies come in and they make traditional German pastries. They get 2 oxen and they put them over a fire and they roast them. They cut the ox meat right there off the ox, put it on your plate. They import German beer in kegs. It's really cool. And then they have like people that have their own mom and pop craft stores come in. So they'll have people who do glass blowing jewelry, sell their wares, people who do pottery. And it's just really cool. Like we've gone every year. Chris likes it because we just let him go nuts in the dessert aisle. Like pick what you want and eat because we know you won't eat the ox. But yeah, they even have they'll make fresh pretzels and they have bratwurst. So you can have pretzel and brats. You can have brats and beer. If you don't like any of that stuff, they'll sell fries with your brats, so you can eat fries. But if anybody's ever in San Diego County during the last week of September, first week of October, go to El Cajon and go to the German American Center Oktoberfest. I highly recommend it. It's a great time and it's actually super cheap. They don't charge an arm and a leg.
I never made it out there. The day we were gonna go, we were gonna like do the whole day Oktoberfest. So at the beginning of the day, we went to the one in Encinitas, and because my art school was just down the street from there, so we hung out there for a little bit, and like we were only there for like an hour, but something happened and we didn't make it to El Cajon, and I've regretted it ever since. So.
Well, I'm sorry. Honestly, when you guys come out to San Diego, like come out, I know that's the hottest time of the year. And oh my gosh, Wolf, you're in Chula Vista? Dude, I live by SDSU. Okay, hit me up on Instagram. We got to meet.
Totally. You two got to meet and take pictures.
Yes. But I know that's the worst time of year to come to San Diego because it's so friggin' hot. Summer for San Diego hits September, October. It's really weird. Like it's 120. My kid's birthday is at the end of September and it's always the hottest day of the year. Like we had a birthday party at a park for his 2nd birthday. This is when we decided no more outdoor birthdays unless we're at the beach. It was 120. Like we were all melting.
Jeez.
So yeah, like, ugh, not a fun time of year unless you have a swimming pool or you live by the beach.
No, not a fun time.
Though I can't complain. You guys are in Arizona now, and it's like record heat out there too.
Yeah, we're already getting triple digits. So.
Are you kidding me?
No.
Oh wow. Dang.
I mean, today was 95, so it wasn't too bad, but
at least it's a dry heat. You don't have humidity.
It's a dry heat, don't have humidity, and our house is made out of bricks, so it keeps in the cold air so nicely. I'm sitting in my house going, it's over 100 degrees outside, and I have not turned on my air conditioning. This is great.
That's awesome. The old school houses in Arizona were built correctly, not the newer ones, but I mean, my grandmother's house, because she was in the dead center of Phoenix, like there was no shade because theirs was an older house and everything else had been torn down.
Oh, geez.
So like you still couldn't hide from the heat eventually because there wasn't like other houses around to help keep that shade and that cool. So she'd, turn on the swamp cooler. She had no air conditioning.
Oh, but swamp coolers are neat though.
I like swamp coolers, but I don't like swamp coolers at night when I'm trying to sleep and I feel like I'm laying in a bog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's not good. Not good. You feeling better?
No.
Okay.
It's all right. Have fun.
Okay.
You can be honest. I had an episode. It's all good.
Okay.
Are there any other questions or anything else you guys want us to
Yes.
talk about? Like I said, my only thing is cooking, and I think I've run out of my stuff for cooking. I need to. What I want to get into, though, and I think Kat knows a lot about it, and if you want, we can save this for another episode.
Okay. Because we
Is
have gone on for over an hour. So
yeah, and I do have to get my kid to bed. So it may be the last week of school, but it's still school, so I gotta
So-
make sure he's asleep by 9.
Yeah.
I want to learn about it. Don't laugh. I know it's going to sound morbid. Criminals, debtors' prison, and how basically police procedural. So how they did the investigations. Like that's something I've always wanted to learn about Victorian England, because you read Sherlock Holmes and you're like, oh, this is so awesome. And a lot of forensics started coming into play during Victorian England. So I'm really interested in that. If you know a lot about that, I would love to hear about it, but probably on another show, because we have gone over an hour.
Oh yeah, we can go totally dark, because I know somewhat about police procedurals and crime and how they would investigate, and I definitely know about debtors' prison, prisons in general, and then we can go really dark and get into surgery and cadaver stealing.
Oh, yes. Okay. Didn't they make a movie about that? Burke and something had Simon Pegg and David Tennant in it. Or no, it was Simon Pegg and Andy Serkis. And they were two notorious guys in Victorian England that would steal cadavers for doctors to study.
I'm gonna need to have to check this out.
Okay, it's based on two real guys, and I've always wanted to see it. It's dark comedy.
Cool. Okay, I'm gonna have to find that. No, sorry, I got derailed, and it's not you. It's my
I'm so good. I'm so good at derailing.
I want to know what this is. Not to get into things, but it started off, of course, being illegal, and then it went into being illegal on the books. Just don't get caught type of thing. And then I've got I've got the audio book. I need to get the physical book of this book. Is entitled "Why Teeth Explode." And
I've heard about teeth explosion, the dentistry thing. Yes. That's some gnarly shit.
It is gnarly shit. And it's this entire book, and it's stories from the Lancet. And the Lancet is, even to this day, the #1 medical industry journal. And it goes back all the way to the Victorian era. And you have all these stories written by real physicians about the oddball things that they ran into, and this book is entirely different stories from that time period. And then the book gives it context, as in why physicians did the things that they did if the stories don't explain it for you. And so I learned all sorts of morbid things. And then, because I love morbid stuff, I've got an entire book of medical drawings, and they're all woodcuts taken from cadavers from the 1800s on, you cut here in order to do this type of surgery and anatomy, and you can tell that they're from either dead bodies or people who were under the knife, and they happen to have an artist there at the time drawing what the surgeon was doing. And it's weird because you can tell which ones are which by the body placement. So
interesting. That sounds cool. Yeah. I kind of like the morbid stuff for Victorian England. There's just something about Victorian England that morbid and Victorian England just goes together so well. Maybe it's just because it was a really dark time. I don't want to say depressing. No, it was depressing. It was pretty fucking depressing.
No, it was. It was a time of great innovation and great leaps forward. But at the same time, a lot of people wound up with very miserable lives. I'd say, we talk about the Industrial Revolution here, but it was really worse over there.
Oh
And
yeah, I mean they had poison fog all the way up until the 60s, I think, when it finally dissipated. But there
yeah.
was wasn't there the great fog of was it 46?
Hmm.
Uh
And then there's the Great Stink.
yeah. Yeah,
So,
so the industrial I was also going to say for the upper echelon, the Victorian era was excellent because also it was, I believe, the largest empire. The British Empire was at the time frame the largest empire. They controlled 1/3 of the planet.
that's
So
true.
for the military and for the aristocracy and for the royals, it was a fantastic time to be alive. But it was all on the backs of the common man and woman
Hmm.
and children. I mean, the fact that
Oh,
the stories of the kids getting into the machinery,
yeah.
that's one of the things I can't read about. But yeah,
Yeah, it I feel I should learn about those things, but I'm with you. It makes me very sad hearing about, little kids and how like age 3 they were going to work and stuff
yeah,
like that. But and then other weird things start like making sense to me. You start making connections like the more I learned about the Victorians, it suddenly hit me, holy crap, the Darling family from Peter Pan were not upper class. They were middle class.
yep.
And you can tell because of the house that they're living in and the fact that they couldn't afford a nanny. Their nanny
That's
was
right.
the
They had the
dog.
dog.
Yep. But yet they put on airs and acted like it. And I figured with the way they were acting that they were upper class, but no, they were middle class.
See, I never thought of that. I always thought they were upper class, but now that you said that, like, oh yeah, a nanny. They would need a nanny.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
And
hey, just a passerby. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Just a passerby. It was Burke and Hare, 2010 film, is about the two grave robbers.
oh, cool. Thank you. I think Wikipedia. Awesome. I am totally going there after this. I gotta check that out. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Because it was racking my brain. All I could think of was Burke. I couldn't remember who the other person was.
Cool.
So
Let's see. Anything else we want to cover, or do you need to get the little one to bed?
yeah, it's getting that time. I'm sorry, guys. I gotta bounce out. So we can pick this up again on Monday.
Yes.
Or another day of the week. I mean, like I said, now that the kiddo, this is his last week of school for him since he's in a charter school, I'm going to have a little bit more free time. So, except for Thursdays are the only day that I can't hang out.
Okay,
But
no Thursdays. Got it.
yes.
That's good to know. And I'm finally feeling better. I was just like on my ass last week, just so totally tired. I finally figured out it's because I work in here and I stand the entire time on the concrete and I had
Oh,
no
yeah.
mat. So I now have a floor mat and yeah, I have energy. It's amazing.
Well, your creations have been wonderful to follow. I actively stalk you on Instagram to see when the next creation's going to come up. And your latest one has been pretty awesome.
Oh, thank you. Well, yeah, this weekend was the clear things off my table because it was getting too full of projects. So, and for those of you who haven't seen my Instagram, I found these really awesome filigree shelves for dirt cheap at the antique store. Next time you come, Ginell, we got to take you to the antique store.
Yes.
They were dirt cheap, so I repainted them, and they're going up on the wall tonight. I finished my diorama, and then right now you can't really see it very well. There's a cabinet there that's wooden, and I've been stripping it, so because it had like a fake walnut finish, and so I spent half the day yesterday sanding it. So anyway. I'm keeping you. I'm sorry.
No. It's okay, actually, because I don't want to get the mom that I'm going to get. Why? My son is getting to the age where he's starting to become moody. The whole like, Mom, why? Or Dad, why? I'm busy.
And because I said so doesn't fly.
No, it literally, we actually will start. It's like he's becoming a little litigator, because then he'll start saying his case and he'll be like, but X, Y, and Z, I don't have to do X, Y, and Z. So why do I have to do A, B, and C now? Because it doesn't fit. And it's just like, really, I'm your mom. Just go do it. I'm your mom. But yeah. He's not even a teenager yet. He's acting like a teenager. I'm like, oh God, what's going to happen when he's a teen?
This is a prelude.
Yes, it's killing me.
Oh, jeez. Well, this was wonderful. I absolutely loved chatting with you. I could do this all night, seriously.
I could too. I really could.
Then we should definitely do it again later this week.
Okay.
Seriously, I would love that.
Okay, actually, we'll do some more brushing up on Victorian stuff. It gives me an excuse to run to Barnes & Noble and get new books.
Oh, do you need an excuse?
No, not really. It's more, I'm one of those people that won't pay, when it comes to like books, I won't pay attention to my budget and I'll just grab everything. And then all of a sudden I'll be like, oh, whoops, I maxed out my credit card. But look at all these awesome books I have.
Yeah, well, the bit about bookstores is they have a lower gravity, and so you get sucked in, and so you have to gain mass in order to leave. And how you do that is you load up on books.
Yes. I'm thankful my son has picked up the same thing, but he walks into a bookstore, he walks out with like 3 books on ships and airplanes and machinery, and they're like this thick.
Nice.
So, yes.
Awesome. That is awesome to hear.
I know that when we were visiting you guys, he wanted to go through Ishi's books, but then he met Brack, and like that he was like, screw books. I've got this cute rat, which I was still so sad that he passed. I had to tell Chris, and Chris was like, no, he was really upset. So he was thankful he got to meet him, because that was the coolest rat I've ever met. So chill.
Yeah, Brack was amazing, and I'm so glad that we had him. And again, I'd say for him, get a Dumbo like Brack, because Dumbos are the chillest. In fact, if you got we used to have 2 hairless Dumbos, and they were the absolute chillest. If you said that a rat could be stoned without actually smoking out, that was these 2. So they are amazing. And I found my rat book, so I need to get that to you. So.
Okay.
Cool.
So I think that's going to be Chris's responsibility this summer. I think we're going to get him the rat and have him learn how to take care of it.
Oh, excellent! Yay!
Yeah, I'm pretty excited. I'm excited too. I'm like, we're in a pet.
Well, you have to tell me how that goes.
I will. All right, cool. I do have to bounce though, guys. Okay, it was fun tonight. Like I said, I could stay, but I have to go be responsible. So we can do this another time soon, hopefully.
Definitely. All right. It was great having you. Great chatting with you.
Great chatting with you too.
So thank you very much. You have a great evening.
You too. Good night.
Bye. Okay. And guys, should I stay with you, or do you want me to... let's see, I can read some comments because I haven't been doing that. I do apologize, you guys. My ability to multitask went nowhere this evening. Goddamn bacon. Oh, great. This sounds uplifting. Did it just get dark in here? Let's see. Marv Alice, I have a super hit take. Prison is entirely unethical and anti-liberal. Jail is fine, but prison is worse than corporal punishment. Discuss. I added the discuss. Very good points. That is a discussion for another day. Count Dankula brought them up in Mad Libs. I'm sorry, Ricky, I did not see what that was in reference to. Marvelous. The Victorian era was very, very bad for many people. In many ways, it was like China is now. In many ways, yes. The only difference is that in the Victorian era, when people went on strike, they actually got something for doing that. Actually, just today learned about how the matchstick girls, as they were called, they were the girls that worked in the factory making matchsticks, because everybody needed matchsticks. You couldn't survive without using matches every day of your life. So the factory was staffed almost entirely with women, and they were working 14-hour days with almost no breaks. They were working on their feet. You couldn't sit down. In fact, you got penalized financially if you sat down. You got penalized if you went to the bathroom, and you had to eat your lunch in the room that you were handling phosphorus with. So a lot of girls were getting something similar to what the radium girls got with their jaws, where the phosphorus was actually replacing the calcium in the bones, and the bones in the jaw were becoming brittle and it was breaking away, or they'd wind up with these weird growths and becoming horribly disfigured as a result. And so the girls finally went on strike in the biggest factory in London. The entire factory went on strike, and within 3 days, they had their demands. So in China, they just bring in more people, and you'd be lucky if you weren't arrested. So imagine the Great Stink was my punk folk hip hop band in high school. Yeah, if you haven't heard of the Great Stink, I'll talk about it next week. Neo Star, to be fair, who's better a nanny dog than a St. Bernard? Labradors. Okay, I think that's it. I just wanted to read through some of these. Good reminder to up my paper book supply. Those tend to not need batteries. Very much so. Very true indeed. I don't like getting digital books. The only ones that I actually touch are for Adventures in Awful. I do use audiobooks a lot, but that's because I rarely ever have time to sit down and read a book. I'm up and about and I'm doing too much stuff. So I listen to things, but I get to download and I get to keep those files. But you are absolutely correct. This thing does not require a battery. And in fact, I have several books in our living room that are nearly 100 years old. So, and they last a long, long time, unlike SD cards. Although what I do is I listen to an audiobook, and if I love it enough, I will then go out and I will buy a physical copy, because physical copies do take up space, and that I don't have boundless amounts of. So it's a give and take. Ricky, I hope she gets his rest. Oh, thank you, Ricky. Yeah, I didn't want to say it during the show because it would detract. Ishi had an episode yesterday. So he's recovering from that. It's so I wasn't lying. He did have a bad night, but it was because he had an episode. So yeah, hopefully he'll bounce back soon. So I think that's it. Well, you guys got me here. Is there anything you want to talk about? Otherwise, I'm probably going to call it a night. I haven't had dinner yet. Let's see. Labrador stinks as nanny playmates, sure, but not nannies. No, my sister-in-law has a black lab. Yes, it did take him to grow up a little bit, but once he got older, and definitely once the kids came, nope, that dog, he's the plaything for the kids, and he is the guard dog if somebody weird comes near them. So that dog does his job. Okay. People are saying I should go have dinner, so I shall go, and I shall leave everybody else to get to dinner and do what they need to do. So everyone have a great and wonderful evening. This was wonderful having you here as always. As Ishii says, buy his books at you can get them on Amazon or at 01publishing.com. That's the number 0, the number 1 publishing.com. Let me type that out here. Publishing.com. And Scars is available on Amazon exclusively. So go check that out. Again, thank you all so much for joining us this evening. Have a wonderful evening. Have a wonderful rest of your week if I don't see you sooner than that. And take care. Good night, everyone.